Well, we know cereal is a common choice for American families. In fact, half the country eats a bowl of cereal at least once a week. About 12% choose to eat it every day.
It can be convenient, but is it healthy? I read once that eating a bowl of cereal is the equivalent of eating a slice of pizza for breakfast.
Oh, no.
I don't know if that's true. I know someone who does, though. That's medical expert Dr. Kyle Coley. So a lot of talk about breakfast choices. Where do you stand on cereal?
Do you guys eat cereal?
I love
breakfast?
cereal.
I love
but
cereal.
not for breakfast.
Oh, yeah, as a snack,
Yeah.
right? I allow my 5-year-old to have cereal once, sometimes twice a week as a treat.
Yeah, so not all cereals are created equal. I want to start by saying that. The way cereal came about was in 1894. Dr. Kellogg, in fact, who was a physician, said, hey, how do we make our diets healthier? And he worked at a hospital, but also at kind of this health resort. And so he said, let's add some fiber, let's add some fortified vitamins, let's put in whole grains and turn it into cornflakes. Now, of course, cereal has really evolved since then into Fruit Loops and Lucky Charms and all these other processed things that have a lot of sugar. They don't have a lot of fiber, and they can have what's called a high glycemic index, which means it's a bunch of carbs first thing in the morning. So cereal started out in a really respectable way, but I think it's evolved to become not what it used to be.
Are there any advantages to eating cereal? Any?
There are, actually. So if you think about cereals, they tend to be fortified, right? And so Sam, you're vegan, so you're probably deficient in vitamin B12, and cereals tend to be fortified with micronutrients, vitamin B12, vitamin D, which older adults have trouble absorbing. Many of us are deficient in. So it's a really nice way for not just adults, but also adolescents and kids to get these micronutrients. That fiber piece, if you have a cereal high in fiber, 90% of us don't get enough fiber in our diet. So that's really helpful too. So in that way, cereal, and it's convenient, right? You just pour it out of the box, you eat it on the go, and you've got it ready to go. Yeah.
Well, the kids love the sweet stuff, the sugary stuff. So I'd assume that's not great. What other drawbacks besides the sugar?
So the fact that it doesn't always have fiber, and then the way that we make cereal nowadays, ladies, is ultra processed. It's an industrial process made in factory, so it actually takes out a lot of the benefits. And so if you think about, for example, oatmeal, which is a healthy type of cereal, one that we should be eating, most of us reach for Quaker oatmeal, which is instant oats, which are highly processed and different. They don't have that nutritional value of the whole oats, so to speak. Then you add in the colors, the preservatives, Fruit Loops, for example, those colors don't exist in nature. And now you're talking about something that actually alters your bacteria in your gut and gives you the sugar load first thing in the morning, which causes a bit of an energy crash later in the day, leads to a cycle of weight gain, and leads to a cycle of actually draining our energy.
So that does make sense, but you did earlier say that not all cereals are created equal. Are there any cereals that you can stand behind?
Yes, in fact. So granola is a great one, right? Because it tends to have low sugar. And usually what I would suggest is if you're having granola, add some yogurt, add some nuts, and add some berries or fruit. And that's a really nice, well-balanced breakfast. Similarly with whole oats. So the way to sort of know if your cereal is good or not is to flip it over, look at the box, and if it has less than 5 grams of sugar and more than 3 grams of fiber, that generally tends to be the healthier cereals. And I would add some some fruits to your cereal so that you're getting some natural sources of vitamins as well.
I'm going off topic here, but I have a question because you say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, but then you'll also say intermittent fasting is good for us.
She's told that to me
right?
before,
And
yes.
eat between 12 and 6 and that sort of thing. So what have you, Dr. Coley? I'm confused.
So it's really interesting you asked that, Alex, because it's not just what you eat, it's when you eat and how much you eat. So people actually say we should have a reverse eating style. Most of us eat our biggest meal at dinner, right? We should eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper. So you want to invert the eating style so that you're eating more in the morning. And that's because our metabolism's most efficient in the morning. Now, for some people, Alex, first thing in the morning breakfast doesn't agree with their composition and it causes weight gain. So I would say waiting till 10 a.m. to start eating breakfast, your first meal of the day, and eating sort of a meal that keeps you full longer, maybe a little bit bigger in portions to make dinner smaller, is an efficient way to rev up your metabolism first thing in the morning. So you can eat breakfast and still do intermittent fasting. You just start that breakfast a bit later.
Gotcha.
And it doesn't have to be cereal. You know, some of us don't like cereal, so I would say cottage cheese with chia seeds on it and some tomatoes maybe, or perhaps an egg white omelet. No?
So tasty, Dr. Coley.
Maybe the tomatoes can be on the side.
Protein pancakes.
Protein pancakes.
Okay.
But that can be a little heavier on the carbs. So you really want to try to enrich the proteins and then
eat.
fruits and vegetables. Do you put some fruit on it?
We do cinnamon and sugar. Probably not good either.
So that is not a good breakfast. But if you are going to make pancakes, make them with almond flour or some other type of, nut-based flour that's a little bit healthier. But, we're laughing about it, but one of the most important things we do to our body is what we do first thing in the morning. Yeah. And that sets the tone for the rest of the day for not just how we feel, but our metabolism. So it is really important for us to be mindful.
Okay.
Awesome.
Learn a lot as always. Dr. Coley, thank you.
Thank you.